July 9th, 1943, somewhere in the western Pacific. The heat presses down like a weight, thick with salt and smoke. The air smells of burned cordite and wet jungle leaves. A young Japanese infantryman, Private First Class Hiroshi Tanaka, 22 years old, lies face down in the mud, his rifle just out of reach, his ears ringing from the blast that ended the fight. The battle is over. American voices move through the trees, boots crunch, orders are shouted in a language he barely understands. Tanaka does not raise his head. He cannot. In his mind, this moment does not exist. Japanese soldiers are not captured. They die. That is what he was taught from the first day he put on the uniform of the Imperial Japanese Army. To surrender is to erase yourself from history. To be taken alive is a disgrace so complete that death would be mercy by comparison. Tanaka waits for the gunshot. It does not come. Instead, hands grab his shoulders. He is rolled onto his back. A shadow falls across his face. An American soldier, helmet low, rifle slung but not raised. Tanaka squeezes his eyes shut, jaw clenched, body rigid. Still no shot. A canteen is pressed to his lips. Water spills into his mouth. He coughs, choking, shocked by the simple fact of it. Water. For him. He is pulled to his feet. His hands are tied. He is searched, disarmed, and marched away from the battlefield. Not toward death, but away from it. By nightfall, Tanaka understands something is terribly wrong. He is still alive. The journey begins with confusion and silence. Tanaka and dozens of other Japanese prisoners are loaded onto trucks, then ships. They are moved like cargo, but not mistreated. They are fed. Their wounds are cleaned. A doctor examines his shrapnel cut and stitches it closed without a word. No beating, no execution, no screaming. The prisoners whisper among themselves, careful not to be heard. Some believe this is a trick, that the Americans are fattening them up before killing them. Others think they are being transported to some place far worse than death. No one imagines where they are actually going. Weeks later, Tanaka stands on the deck of a transport ship as land appears on the horizon. Not an island, not jungle. A continent. The United States. The guards do not announce it. They don't need to. The scale alone tells the story. Ports larger than any Tanaka has ever seen, cranes lifting cargo endlessly, rail lines stretching into the distance like steel veins. From the harbor, the prisoners are loaded onto trains. Tanaka has never been on one before. The iron wheels scream as they begin to move inland, farther and farther from the ocean, from the war, from anything familiar. Days pass. Out the narrow windows, the landscape changes. Cities give way to farmland. Forests roll by, green, endless, orderly. Rivers wide enough to swallow entire villages slide past beneath bridges of steel. At night, Tanaka cannot sleep. His mind returns again and again to the same question. Why am I still alive? When the train finally stops, the air is different, cooler, sharper. It smells of pine and damp earth. Guards shout orders and the prisoners are herded onto the platform. A sign nearby reads, Michigan. Tanaka has never heard the word before. They are driven north, deeper into the state, until fences appear. Barbed wire, guard towers, floodlights. A military camp emerges from the trees. Wooden barracks, neatly aligned. American flags snap in the wind. This is not what Tanaka expected. The camp is not a dungeon. It is not hidden underground or buried in jungle. It looks permanent, organized, almost peaceful. As he passes through the gates, Tanaka notices something that unsettles him more than fear ever did. The guards are relaxed. Rifles are carried, but casually. Some men smoke cigarettes. One laughs at something another says. This is not the posture of soldiers guarding condemned men. Inside the barracks, Tanaka is issued a blanket, clean, wool. He is shown a bunk. Later, food arrives. Hot stew, bread, vegetables. He stares at the bowl for a long time before eating. This is wrong. Everything about this is wrong. That night, lying on his back, staring at the wooden ceiling above him, Tanaka realizes the truth he has been avoiding since the battlefield. The Americans are not behaving like enemies. And that terrifies him more than cruelty ever could. Because if the enemy is not a monster, then what does that make the war? Morning comes early in northern Michigan. A bugle sounds just after dawn, its sharp notes cutting through the cool air. Private First Class Hiroshi Tanaka sits up on his bunk, stiff and disoriented. For a brief moment, he expects to see jungle canopy above him. Instead, there are wooden beams, evenly spaced, clean. Sunlight filters through narrow windows, casting pale stripes across the floor. Around him, other Japanese prisoners stir. Some sit silently. Others whisper. No one speaks loudly. Discipline is ingrained too deeply for that. Tanaka steps outside the barracks with the rest of the men. The camp spreads out before him, rectangular, orderly, surrounded by multiple layers of barbed wire. Guard towers stand at the corners, but the sentries lean against the rails, rifles slung, posture loose. No one is shouting. No one is rushing them. Roll call is conducted calmly. Names are read, prisoner numbers checked. An American officer, Captain William Harris, according to the patch on his uniform, walks the line, clipboard in hand. He does not glare. He does not insult them. He barely raises his voice. This is not how guards behave toward men they fear or despise. Breakfast follows. Tanaka receives a metal tray. On it, scrambled eggs, bread, potatoes, coffee. Real coffee. The smell alone is overwhelming. He eats slowly, half expecting someone to snatch the tray away, to laugh, to strike him for taking too much time. Nothing happens. Across the mess hall, guards eat the same food. That detail lodges itself in Tanaka's mind like a splinter. Within days, the prisoners learn the rules of the camp. They will not be beaten. They will not be starved. They are required to work if physically able, but they will be paid. Paid. The word spreads through the barracks in murmurs of disbelief. Work assignments are posted: logging, road maintenance, farm labor, kitchen duty. Tanaka is assigned to a work detail clearing brush along a nearby road. He is handed gloves, tools, a jacket against the cold. An American sergeant explains the task slowly, using gestures when words fail. When Tanaka hesitates, unsure, the sergeant demonstrates, then nods once. That is all. They work under guard, but the guards keep their distance. Some sit on crates, others talk among themselves. One hums a tune Tanaka doesn't recognize. At midday, lunch is brought out to them. Hot soup, bread again. Tanaka begins to understand something unsettling. The Americans are not afraid of them. That afternoon, after the tools are turned in, the prisoners are lined up. An American clerk moves down the row, handing out small slips of paper. Tanaka takes his without understanding. Later, another prisoner explains in a hushed voice. It is money, a few cents per hour, credited to each man. Camp script that can be exchanged at the camp store. Tanaka stares at the paper that night, holding it between his fingers. In the Imperial Japanese Army, a captured soldier is already dead. He owns nothing. He is nothing. Yet here the enemy is paying him. Days turn into weeks. The rhythm of camp life becomes familiar. Wake, roll call, work, meals, evening count, lights out. No interrogations come, no punishment, no attempts to force propaganda from them. Instead, something far more dangerous happens. Normality sets in. Tanaka notices the seasons changing. Leaves begin to yellow. The air grows colder. One morning, frost coats the ground like ash. He has never seen snow before. When it finally falls, light and silent, the prisoners stand watching it through the wire, transfixed. Some laugh softly. Others look uneasy, as if beauty itself is a violation. Rumors circulate. Some prisoners say there are other camps like this across America. Others claim German prisoners are treated the same way. A few insist this is all temporary, that something terrible is coming. Then, one evening, an announcement is made. A group of prisoners will be selected for a special work assignment. They will leave the camp. The words spread through the barracks like an electric current. Leave the camp? Tanaka sits frozen as the announcement is translated. He feels his stomach tighten. Men exchange looks, fear, suspicion, disbelief. Leave. And go where? The answer comes the next day. They are going into town. Not under chains, not in trucks with covered backs, but on foot, in small groups. Supervised, but visible. Tanaka is chosen. That night, sleep will not come. His thoughts spiral. This must be a test, a trap, an excuse to kill them if they step out of line. Or worse, to humiliate them publicly. In his mind, images collide. Angry civilians, spitting crowds, fists, stones. He thinks of his family in Japan, of the shame they would feel if they knew he was alive, walking freely among the enemy. As dawn approaches, Tanaka realizes something far more frightening than death awaits him. He is about to see America, not as an enemy, but as it truly is. The gates open just after mid-morning. Private, first class. Hiroshi Tanaka feels it immediately, the change in space, the absence of weight. For weeks, every step of his life has existed within fences and wire. Now, as he and 8 other prisoners walk forward, the barrier parts behind them, not with the clatter of chains, but with the simple scrape of metal. No siren sounds. No rifles are raised. 2 American guards walk with them, rifles slung, posture casual. One chews gum, the other carries a clipboard, glancing down more often than at the prisoners themselves. Tanaka's heart hammers as they step onto the dirt road leading away from the camp. The wire fades behind them. Trees line the road. Somewhere in the distance, a car engine hums. This is wrong. Every instinct in Tanaka's body screams that this moment cannot be real. He waits for someone to shout, to run, to test them. Nothing happens. They walk. The town appears gradually, not all at once. First a few buildings, then a wider road, then storefronts, wooden facades, painted signs, large glass windows. Tanaka has never seen so much glass. Reflections stare back at him from every surface. His own face, thinner now, eyes wary, cap pulled low. He looks like a ghost walking through another man's life. People notice them. A woman pushing a pram pauses, eyes widening slightly. A man standing outside a hardware store stops mid-sentence. Children stare openly, curious rather than afraid. No one yells. No one throws anything. Tanaka feels his chest tighten. He cannot reconcile this with what he was taught. Civilians are supposed to hate them, to fear them, to attack them on sight. Instead, a man tips his hat. Another nods once. The guards guide them toward the main street. Their destination is clear, a general store. Its windows are filled with goods, canned food, soap, cloth, cigarettes. The smell hits Tanaka as soon as they step inside. Coffee, sugar, leather, clean wood. Shelves stretch from floor to ceiling. Full shelves. He stops walking without realizing it. For a moment, he cannot breathe. Inside the store, time seems to slow. Tanaka moves carefully, as if afraid the floor might vanish beneath him. He runs his fingers along a shelf, touching a tin can, half expecting it to be empty or fake. It is real. He reads the label slowly, sounding out the English letters in his head. Beans, peaches, chocolate. Chocolate. In Japan, sweets are rare now, in the camps even more so. Yet here they sit, stacked carelessly as if abundance itself is unremarkable. A shopkeeper stands behind the counter, a middle-aged man with rolled sleeves and tired eyes. He watches them without hostility, without warmth either, just observation. When Tanaka steps forward and places his camp-issued scrip on the counter, his hands tremble. The shopkeeper takes it, counts it, hands him a small bag with soap and a tin of food. The transaction is ordinary. That is what breaks something inside Tanaka. This is not cruelty. This is not mercy. This is indifference to the fact that he is an enemy at all. Outside, the group regathers. One prisoner whispers something under his breath, a question or perhaps a prayer. Another stares at a nearby bakery, eyes fixed on the display of bread behind the glass. As they walk farther down the street, Tanaka notices details he cannot stop noticing. Cars parked casually along the road, well-dressed civilians. A butcher's shop advertising fresh meat. Fresh meat. Japan is rationing rice. Families skip meals. Soldiers fight on half-empty stomachs. And here, far from the front, America eats as if the war is a rumor. A thought forms in Tanaka's mind, unbidden and dangerous. If this is how they live during war, how could we ever defeat them? They pass a cafe. Laughter spills out as the door opens. Music plays softly from a radio inside, something upbeat, something impossible. Tanaka feels dizzy, like he has stepped into a dream not meant for him. One of the guards notices his expression and speaks slowly. "You okay?" Tanaka does not understand the words, but he understands the tone. "Concern." He nods reflexively. The guard smiles once, brief and casual, then looks away. That smile lingers in Tanaka's thoughts like a wound. When they return to the camp, the gates close behind them as quietly as they opened. Inside the barracks, the men sit in stunned silence. Purchases are placed on bunks and examined like artifacts from another world. Soap, candy, coffee. Proof. No one celebrates. No one speaks loudly, because now they must confront the truth that no one prepared them for. The Americans are not behaving like conquerors. They are behaving like people who do not need to prove anything. That night, Tanaka lies awake staring at the ceiling again. But the questions have changed. If the enemy is this confident, if they can afford kindness, then what does that say about the war Japan is fighting? And worse, what does it say about the men who sent him into it? Word spreads through the camp quickly. Those who went into town are questioned in low voices, surrounded by men hungry not for food, but for certainty. Tanaka answers carefully at first, choosing his words as if they might betray him, but the truth is too heavy to hold back. The stores were full. The people were calm. No one threatened them. Some prisoners scoff, shaking their heads. Others accuse him of exaggeration. A few stare at the soap and food on his bunk in silence, unable to deny what their eyes see. Within days, another group is selected, then another. Town visits become routine. And with routine comes something far more destabilizing than fear. Understanding, Tanaka begins to notice patterns. The guards do not count bullets obsessively. The gates are watched, but not with desperation. At night, searchlights sweep lazily, more symbolic than urgent. The Americans are not worried about escape. At first, this insults Tanaka. Later, it frightens him. One evening, sitting with a small group of prisoners near the barracks steps, a corporal named Sato speaks what many have been thinking. "They must be insane," Sato mutters. "No army would treat prisoners this way." Heads nod. In the Imperial Japanese Army, prisoners are burdens, or worse, proof of failure. They are punished, ignored, erased. Here, the enemy feeds them, pays them, and lets them walk among civilians. From a Japanese military perspective, it is madness. But madness has rules, and Tanaka begins to see them. On one of his later trips into town, Tanaka notices something he missed before. The Americans are not showing off. There are no speeches, no lectures, no propaganda posters shoved in their faces. No one forces them to look at maps of Allied victories or photographs of bombed Japanese cities. This is not theater. It is simply how life is here. That realization hits Tanaka harder than any display of power could have. The abundance is not staged. The calm is not an act. This is real. At the grocery store, Tanaka overhears two women talking behind him. He doesn't understand every word, but he catches enough to piece it together. One complains about sugar rationing. The other agrees, mentioning coupons. Rationing, even here. Yet the shelves are still full. The scale is different. The foundation stronger. Tanaka's chest tightens again, but now with something colder than fear. Recognition. The thought takes root among the prisoners, spreading quietly. If America can afford this level of humanity during war, then America is not afraid of losing. That idea terrifies men raised on the belief that war is total, brutal, and unforgiving, that fear must be enforced, that mercy is weakness. Here, mercy feels like confidence sharpened into a weapon. Escape becomes a theoretical conversation. What if someone ran? A younger prisoner asks one night. No one answers immediately. Finally, an older sergeant speaks. Where would he go? The question ends the discussion. The prisoners are unmistakable. Their faces, their language, their mannerisms. An escaped man would stand out within minutes. There is no underground network waiting to help them, no sympathetic population. And more importantly, why run from a place that treats you better than your own army ever did? The thought is shameful, but it is also true. Some prisoners struggle more than others. A few refuse to go into town, claiming illness. Others become withdrawn, staring for long stretches at nothing. One man breaks down after receiving a letter from home, sobbing quietly into his blanket. The kindness is not freeing them. It is undoing them, because every decent interaction strips away another layer of propaganda. And beneath it, there is nothing left to hold on to. Tanaka begins to think of his officers, of the speeches they gave, of the promises they made about honor and destiny. He thinks of how casually an American guard once handed him a cigarette, how a shopkeeper met his eyes without hatred, how children stared at him not with fear but curiosity. None of this fits the world he was taught to believe in. Late one night, as snow begins to fall again outside the barracks, Tanaka finally admits something he has resisted since the day of his capture. The enemy is not broken. They are not desperate. They are not cruel. And if that is true, then Japan is fighting a war it cannot win. Winter deepens its hold on northern Michigan. Snow piles against the barracks walls, packed hard by wind and cold. Inside, pot-bellied stoves glow red, radiating a dry heat that smells of iron and coal. Tanaka sits cross-legged on his bunk, hands wrapped around a metal cup of coffee, watching steam curl upward and vanish. This, too, is wrong. In his mind, captivity was supposed to be suffering. Hunger was meant to sharpen loyalty. Pain was meant to reinforce belief. Instead, comfort has become the most dangerous enemy he has ever faced. The camp settles into a quiet rhythm. Work continues, though winter slows it. Some prisoners shovel snow from roads and buildings. Others repair equipment indoors. The guards remain the same, watchful, calm, unthreatening. Too unthreatening. Conversations among the prisoners change. They no longer speak about escape or death with the same certainty. Instead, questions creep in, hesitant at first, then unavoidable. What happens when the war ends? What will Japan look like? Will they even want us back? No one answers confidently. Letters arrive sporadically. Tanaka receives one in late January. The paper is thin, the handwriting careful. His mother writes of shortages, of air raid drills, of neighbors who have lost sons and receive nothing but a box and a folded flag. She does not ask about him. She assumes he is dead. Tanaka folds the letter slowly, his hands steady, his chest hollow. In the imperial system, a captured soldier ceases to exist. Families are spared the shame by silence. Here, in this warm barracks thousands of miles away, Tanaka realizes the final cruelty of surrender. He is alive in a world where he no longer belongs. Some prisoners react with anger. A corporal named Fujimoto becomes confrontational, snapping at guards, refusing work, accusing others of weakness. He spits words like traitor and coward, trying to rebuild the walls that reality keeps knocking down. The guards do not punish him harshly. They isolate him briefly, speak to him calmly, then return him to the barracks. The lack of brutality robs Fujimoto of the fight he wants. He grows quiet. Others react differently. One evening, during a town visit, Tanaka notices a fellow prisoner staring too long at a family outside a diner. A man, a woman, 2 children laughing around a table. Ordinary. Safe. The prisoner turns away suddenly, shoulders shaking. Later, back at camp, Tanaka hears muffled sobbing through the thin barracks walls. The war is no longer something happening far away. It is happening inside them. American guards notice the change, even if they don't fully understand it. Captain Harris speaks with the camp interpreter, asking questions. Are the men eating? Sleeping? Any trouble? He does not ask about loyalty or fear. He asks about morale. That word, morale, is almost unheard of in Tanaka's military upbringing. Morale is enforced, not protected. Yet here, the enemy protects it. As months pass, news filters in through newspapers and overheard radio broadcasts. Allied victories, islands falling, bombing raids over Japanese cities. No one announces these things to the prisoners. They discover them naturally. That too matters. There is no need to boast. One afternoon, while working indoors, Tanaka overhears 2 guards talking. One mentions a brother fighting in Europe. Another talks about hoping the war ends soon so he can go home. They sound tired. Human. Not triumphant. Tanaka realizes then that Americans do not see the war as destiny. They see it as something to survive. That difference explains everything. By early 1945, the camp feels suspended between worlds. The prisoners are no longer soldiers. Not really. But they are not civilians either. They exist in a strange middle space, shaped by kindness that feels almost cruel in its implications. Some men cling harder to old beliefs, repeating slogans under their breath like prayers. Others let go entirely. Tanaka drifts. He does his work. He follows the rules. He goes into town when assigned. He thanks shopkeepers with a small bow, earning puzzled smiles. At night, he dreams not of battle, but of walking freely through streets, without guards, without uniforms, without shame. The dream scares him more than nightmares ever did. Then, one morning in August, everything changes. The camp feels different before anyone says a word. Guards cluster around radios. Conversations stop when prisoners approach. There is tension, but not fear. By afternoon, an announcement is made. Japan has surrendered. The war is over. The words hang in the air, heavy and unreal. Some prisoners collapse where they stand. Others stare ahead, expressionless. Tanaka feels nothing at first. Then everything at once. Relief, grief, shame, and an unexpected, piercing gratitude for a place that treated him like a man when his own nation would not. The days after the announcement pass in a strange, quiet haze. No celebrations erupt inside the camp. No cheers. No fists raised in triumph. The Japanese prisoners move as if underwater, their routines intact but emptied of urgency. The war that defined their identities has ended, and nothing has rushed in to replace it. Tanaka stands outside the barracks one morning, watching smoke drift from the chimneys into the pale sky. The snow is beginning to melt now, revealing dark patches of earth beneath. Spring is coming. He feels as if he should be relieved. Instead, he feels exposed. Repatriation plans begin almost immediately. The Americans explain the process carefully. There will be medical checks, paperwork, transport to ports, ships home. Home. The word no longer carries certainty. Among the prisoners, anxiety replaces disbelief. Men whisper about what awaits them in Japan. Will they be punished, shunned, ignored? Will their families even accept them? No one knows. Captain Harris gathers the prisoners in the yard one afternoon. Through an interpreter, he speaks plainly. He thanks them for their cooperation. He wishes them luck. There is no triumph in his voice, only finality. Tanaka is called in for processing. His weight is recorded, his health checked. A doctor notes that the shrapnel wound on his leg has healed cleanly. Good care, the interpreter says, almost apologetically. Tanaka nods. The care was good. Too good. As departure approaches, town visits stop. Not out of punishment, but because there is no longer a reason to pretend this is temporary. The prisoners pack their few belongings, soap wrappers, letters, small purchases made with camp scrip, objects that feel heavier than they should. On Tanaka's last evening, an American guard he recognizes approaches him near the fence. The man hesitates, then holds out a cigarette. Tanaka accepts it. They smoke in silence. The guard speaks first. Good luck. The words are simple, genuine. Tanaka bows slightly, deeply. Thank you, he says in careful English. The guard looks surprised, then nods once. That is all. The train ride back feels different. Where the journey into America was filled with dread, the journey out is filled with an ache Tanaka does not have a name for. He watches the Michigan landscape roll past one last time. Fields, forests, towns where life continues untouched by him. He wonders if anyone there will remember them. He knows he will never forget. When the ship finally pulls away from the American coast, Tanaka stands at the rail. The ocean stretches endlessly ahead, carrying him back toward a homeland transformed by fire and defeat. Around him, other former prisoners stand quietly. Some pray, some stare, some weep openly now that there is no longer reason to hide it. Tanaka grips the cold metal rail, steadying himself. He is going home. But the man who left Japan does not exist anymore. Months later, when Tanaka steps onto Japanese soil, there is no ceremony. No welcome, no condemnation either, just silence. His family accepts him without questions. That too is mercy. Years pass. Tanaka marries. He works. He builds a quiet life. He does not speak of the war often. But sometimes, when he hears American music on the radio or smells coffee brewing, his mind returns to a place that should not have existed. A prison camp in Michigan, where the enemy fed him, paid him, let him walk freely among civilians, where kindness did more damage to propaganda than any weapon.